Morning, everyone. Melissa here with Build a Better Bakery, and I want to I want to go ahead and apologize. I usually have a microphone. I'm usually in a room that's quiet for this, but we just moved to a new house and there's a lot going on here, and the room that I would probably do these in later is literally filled to the top with boxes. So we're just sitting here in my little dining area. I'm sorry that there's probably an echo. You might hear my dogs, my kid, my pets, whatever. So apologize here. I want to welcome you to the first, and there's, oh, can you say it again? Now someone else is talking to me. If you've never been here before, I'm the founder of Build a Better Bakery, which is a little business set up with a crew of military spouses that, hold on a second. She's just going to keep talking. I did not anticipate this. Okay, here we go. And there is literally one fly in this house, and it is sitting right in front of me because I started this live. So yay, good to have you here. The Build a Better Bakery that you might already know about, or maybe you're new to the group, is a group of military spouses who have expertise in, for me, baking business, and also marketing, sales, photography, organization, lots of things that you might need more information on as you're starting and growing your business. So we came together to create this business. And if you're interested in finding more joy and less overwhelm, because it can be overwhelming, to start and grow your baking business, that's why we're here. We should just hang out more and obsess over this whole baking thing together. So if you see this on the replay, go ahead and throw up your hashtag replay so that I know you've seen the content. I do have this pulled up. Make sure. So if you see this on the replay, okay. I do have it pulled up in the group, so if you have any comments live or later, go ahead and put them under the video and we can chat. So here at Build a Better Bakery, the theme for July is Bake It Like a Pro. So because I did my move, I missed a couple weeks with this, I'm gonna put some good information in this week and next week to get you some lives about this topic. And although we are normally focused on the business aspect of baking here in the group, you know your girl likes to talk about baking itself. So don't ever shy away from posting baking questions or asking about baking in general. It's just not normally what I'm going to share information about because it's not the focus here, but we still like to talk about it. So some of us are seasoned bakers. I know many of us in the group already have businesses, 10 plus years in, whatever it might be. And I know a lot of you are first stages. So you're just creating your recipes. You're just kind of figuring out baking step by step. And maybe you've just baked a couple times so far. That's okay too. We welcome everyone in here. We're going to chat about 3 important aspects that you can check to, if you're working on a recipe or you're baking a recipe and it's not turning out. We're going to talk about 3 beginner tips today. And then next week, we're going to cover 3 advanced tips. So these would be kind of the first 3 things I would check before moving on to more advanced and basic checking. Okay, if you are here live, go ahead and also throw up your hashtag live whenever you're live, and then I can see you're here, and then we can chat together and I can see that you're interacting. Now, to stay in the know about these lives, you can 1, check the events in the group. I usually post a couple days before about what we're going to talk about. 2 is you can send me a friend request on Facebook to Melissa Fryer. I will accept it, and then you'll get an automatic invite to the event when I make it. Or you can hang out on our email list for replay links or on our YouTube page for replay. You might miss certain things that way, like giveaways, discounts, etc., that I might talk about during the live, but you can still get the resources at a later date. What I do is I go live every Thursday at now 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. So before it used to be 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, but it works out the same, trying to keep it consistent for anyone who plans to be here regularly. And you'll just come right here to the Bakery Business School group into the main discussion area, and we will do our live. Okay, now let's hop in. Let's say you are following a recipe, maybe on the back of a package or something online that you found. And before we get into these 3 fixes, I want you to know that there's often going to be instances where recipes don't turn out because it's not a good recipe. It might be something that someone just posted on a whim and didn't really try. If it's on the back of a package, it's usually tested and tried, but sometimes it's just not what you're looking for. So keep in mind, we'll talk next week a little bit more about an advanced check on the recipe itself, but it might just not be good, right? So try to use really trusted sources to find your recipes if you're going to make them. We're just going to talk deeper about, it's something called the Universal Baker's Formula that we'll talk about a little bit next week. And it's really one of the most popular sessions in our elite mentorship program. It's a whole hour, might even be 2 hours worth of information about creating recipes, how to use the formula, how to just quickly eyeball if a recipe even makes sense or not. So again, we'll talk about that next week a little bit. But let's just say that you're baking a balanced recipe, something from a trusted source, and maybe you even made it before and it turned out. For some reason, there's issues now, right? There's something happening that's not working. So we're going to cover the 3 beginner aspects this week. All right. The first one you're going to look at is, are your ingredients old? Really checking the date on everything is important just for flavor specifically. But in this instance, we're really talking about the leavening agent, the thing that creates the chemical reactions and the movements inside of the product, which you'll suspect there's a problem if the items are dense, if they're kind of staying runny, if they're not really taking form, if they are not building the body or the crumb that you expected, or they don't fluff up as you expected. Side note, there are other reasons for this. We'll talk about it next week, but specifically the leavening agent is usually the thing that goes bad quickly and can be the problem here. So if you haven't used the top 3, if you haven't used your baking soda, your baking powder, or your yeast in a while, it does make sense that you may want to check the dates on the package and or test them for the efficiency. And testing pretty quick, I suggest give it a test if you really haven't used it in a couple months, just to see, make sure you're on the right page before wasting a bunch of money and materials. All right, so just real quick, you can write this down or refer back to this video. To test baking soda, you can add a tablespoon of vinegar or lemon juice, which is adding an acid to a base, which is baking soda, and about a 1/4 teaspoon of that baking soda to the 1 tablespoon of acid to see how strong the reaction is. A quick, strong reaction is good. You're going to see bubbles. You're going to see kind of foaming. To test the baking powder, you're going to add a 1/4 cup of warm water to 1 to 2 teaspoons of baking powder, because baking powder already contains the acid and the base. You just need to get it wet. So you're going to add 1/4 cup to 1 to 2 teaspoons. Quick, strong reaction is good. And then to test the yeast, this is a little different. You're going to add a teaspoon of sugar to 2 1/4. I think it's supposed to be 2 1/4 teaspoons yeast. I think it's about 1 packet. Mine comes in a big container, so I don't know how much is in a packet, but the packets that you do pull off single. And you're going to add a 1/4 cup of water to that. So you need the sugar to feed the yeast, and you need the water to activate the whole mixture. Once they all come together, you're looking for a good amount of bubbles in a yeasty smell within the first 10 minutes. So just set a timer, take a look, make sure everything's working. Now, if there's no reaction or a really weak reaction, then just get a new container. There's something wrong with it, and that's likely your problem. So that's the first check. Now, the second check is, are your pans not cutting it? You know, when we first get into this business, or just when we first start baking in general, sometimes we get what's accessible to us, or we get what's cheapest because we're not totally sure if we're going to continue to bake and all that. And it usually means cheap pans. So many low-cost pans have characteristics that cause problems. Things like uneven baking, over browning, misshapen products, things like that. The 2 aspects that I see most often for a thin pan is that it will warp while you're baking, which can misshape a product. Like if you're trying to cut out cookies, it warps in the oven and then it changes the shapes of the cookies, right? So it can make them kind of smushed or move around. Or really the bigger issue is that because they are so thin, they don't conduct heat very well. They don't hold heat. And you can just get a lot of usually over browning from high heat. The other difficult aspect is the dark in color. I don't exactly know why they're doing it. I think it's a non-stick thing, but a lot of cheap pans are dark. They're kind of like black or dark brown. And I have only experience that creating a hotter pan and burning the bottom of my products and the top isn't done. So really, I would try to avoid dark pans and thin pans. I highly suggest investing in a good set of light metal, commercial type, light metal as in light colored metal, commercial type baking pans and sheets. It's really a good investment. You can use them for home if you decide not to bake long term. The basic commercial is basically like lifetime, right? They're made to be used. I would suggest that. And a good name to throw out is Nordic Ware sheet pans, which I think the last ones I bought were from Target. They're widely available and they're a good compromise on the use and price. So they're kind of like mid-range. And then when we're talking like commercial cake pans and muffin trays, I personally like the Magic Line brand, which I can give you guys the links to all these. You can usually get them off Amazon. They sell them in sets. They're, in my opinion, very affordable for the type of product you're getting and the lifetime span of the product itself. And I know others who like Fat Daddios. I never got on that train because I was already doing Magic Line. I already bought my sets. They seem really similar to me. I think Fat Daddios is sometimes sold in stores, where I think Magic Line is mostly like online. So that's another name you can look for. And these types of pans are thick. They're light in color. They have rolled edges, so you're never going to cut yourself or hurt yourself when you're picking up the pan. It's easy to pick it up. And what I think is really one of the better qualities is that if you're getting a round or a square pan, the bottom edges are sharp on the inside of the pan. So usually like welded along. So when you flip your cakes out, they have a really nice sharp edge. That's super important just for creating nice professional looking cakes, is to already have that sharp edge in cake, rather than trying to have to build it up with icing, which is unfortunately what happens with a lot of Wilton pans and Wilton type products, is they're really not made for professionals. So, but they're widely available. So if you have a lot of Wilton products, just know you're kind of using like the step 1, step 2 of baking product, and it gets better from there. So if you're using Wilton coloring, it's not very strong. You can get a much stronger coloring from something like AmeriColor. Lasts a lot longer. It's a lot more user-friendly and deep in color, right? So there's other grades above Wilton. If you're at Wilton and you need some suggestions about moving up a level, let me know and I can tell you what would maybe be a good few choices for you. All right, moving on to number 3. Is your oven working correctly? Have you checked it? You know what's going on with it. You may want to check the running temp of the oven itself regularly. You'll need an oven thermometer. You'll see it's like the one I have has a hook on the top and it's all metal with a face, and it's meant for high temp checking. Don't use a regular thermometer. Don't put that, nothing plastic in the oven. It's usually made out of metal and glass. And you can hang it in certain parts of the oven to check the temperature of the whole thing and what's going on with it. So what I would do is bring your oven to a normal temp that you bake at, like 350 Fahrenheit. And you're going to hang the thermometer in each corner, as far back in each corner as you can. Leave it there for about 5 minutes, record the temperature, move it to the next spot, 5 minutes, record the temperature. And then at the last part, do the middle, 5 minutes, record the temperature. And you're going to do that for both the racks, just to kind of put them where you usually would bake and check there. So you know where it's going to happen, what's happening with it. You could even set it on top of the rack instead of hanging it, whatever's easiest for you. Now you'll likely notice when you do this test that each rack is slightly different. Could be a degree or 2, it could be even more than that. And you may end up having like a hot, cold side of the oven. Just depends on, again, there's lots of things happening in people's ovens, makes, age, gas or electric, size, place in your house. All of that is very unique to each person. Now you can amend some things going on with your oven with some quick fixes, like leveling the oven feet. So get a level out, make sure everything's level. That can help a lot. You can add a baking stone in strategic places in the oven. If you've got a cold side, you could add a baking stone on that side to bring more heat over and hold heat. You might have to get a new range. It kind of depends on what's going on with it. But at least with the data, even if you make no fixes at all, you'll know that, hey, my top rack maybe runs a little hotter, so I need to know that. Or maybe I need to bring it down. You know, I tested it one slot lower and it's better down there, so I'll bake there instead, just so you understand what's going on with the inside of the oven. And you can even do this a couple different times if you want to test, you know, bringing it to 350 or 400 a couple times and make sure it's all the same. Periodically, you can test this as much as you want. I would say at least every 6 months. If you use your oven a lot, maybe every 3 months, just to be sure everything's working correctly. Alrighty, so again, this week we're talking about the 3 more like beginner simple fixes to look at first before you start deep diving into some other advanced aspects of baking to try to fix a recipe or try to fix the process that you're using. So we have talked about freshness level of your leavening is important. So just a quick check on that to make sure everything's working there. Then your quality of pans. What do you have? Do you maybe need to invest in at least one good pan and try that out? Can you get a set? Like I said, I can give you a link where there are sets where you save money by buying, you know, 3 or 4 together. And moving up a level in pans to see how that's affecting your bake. And then lastly, checking your oven temperature, making sure everything's working with it. Okay, so next week, I'll see you at the same time, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, right here in the Baking Business School group. I think I'm going to stick with that time. We're going to be starting homeschool and we live in a new place, and I want to make sure it still works for me, but just keep hanging out. Thursdays, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. I'll get used to it, and I'll let you know if anything changes, but otherwise I'll be here to hang out with you. And for anyone in the group, if you didn't already know, you can connect with me over the phone or a Zoom call. I have a couple free sessions. Everyone gets at least one free 20-minute session just to talk about what's going on with your business or your ideas about what you want to do. You can head over to my Calendly scheduling page. I can get you the link for that if you need it. Or I have longer form strategy sessions too, if you're ready to hop in and just get a bunch of stuff done at one time. You can also pop over to the website for resources like online courses in starting your business, pricing, some of the most important aspects, big aspects I put into courses so it's easier for you to have all the information at once. We also have downloadable business plans, contracts, things that you can download within a minute or 2 and use right away for your business. We have focused coaching bundles, which is fun because it gets you kind of a little bit of everything, all focused on one topic. Our newest bundle is all about pricing. I get a lot of questions about pricing. So what it does is it teaches you to do this like a pro. So you get to skip like 5, 6, 7 years of trying some things out. I just give you all the information up front. You can bring in the profit that you've been looking for. You can cover the bills. You can protect your business. You can save for the future. And then just essentially charging what a successful business needs to charge to stay afloat with the math backing it up. So a lot of people ask me, how do I get profitable? It's math. How do I stay profitable? Be confident about the math. That's the thing. So having the formula set in place, some guidance on how to use the formula, how to make it work for you, and then implementing it. That's your job, is to come in and actually charge those prices so that you can keep your doors open. There's also some information in there and some one-on-one work that's going to get you the added confidence of a seasoned business professional, because we're going to hang out. I'm going to talk to you about this. I'm going to help you find that spark inside of you that brings your confidence to life. That's part of it too. Okay. So let me know if you'd like the links to anything I mentioned. I'm here. Inbox is open on Facebook. You can email me, melissa@buildabetterbakerynow.com. I can get with you there. Let me know. I'm here to help and would love to sit down with you if you want to spend some time together. All right. So I'm going to head out for the day. I'll see you next week for part 2. And then we'll see what I'll brainstorm what we're going to do in August. And I saw that some of you were interested in more of the mini courses. So I'm going to kind of get settled with the house and my kids' homeschool first, because it's my first time doing this with the homeschool. So we're going to get kind of into the groove in August, and then I might be able to start bringing some of those back in maybe September, October timeframe. So feel free to send me a message too if you have any topics that you think would be useful for you. Any mini course, I can absolutely, or like a mini workshop, I can absolutely think on those too and note those down. All right. Okay. See you later.